What is a Form 2? That is the question I want to answer in this video. And you are correct to assume it is an actual form, but obviously a form is more meaningful than the paper itself. So what does a Form 2 do? And you might be watching this video because you know it has something to do with our mental health care system. And you are right, it is. So the Form 2 is essentially a strategy to get an individual with a serious mental illness to a hospital if they won't go themselves. It is typically used when the person's mental health is really deteriorating and they lack insight into their condition. So an individual does not know that they're experiencing a mental illness, does not realize they're getting worse and worse. They don't know that they've reached the point that their behavior has created a situation where their family's worried that they will harm themselves or maybe harm others, maybe even unintentionally, but just through the manifestation of their mental disorder that they might come into harm's way. And so the family's getting very worried, and how do they get a person to the hospital? So this is where a Form 2 comes in. A Form 2 is for the individual who won't seek the care themselves, and police can't bring the person to the hospital. Police are kind of limited. The language in the Mental Health Act says they can't bring the person to the hospital unless certain criteria are met, but also if it would be dangerous to proceed by way of the Form 2. So if they can't wait, then maybe the police can help. But otherwise, the Form 2 becomes the option. So this is what it looks like. In most cases, it is brought by a family member, although it doesn't have to be. Family member goes to a justice of the peace and they have to bring forward evidence. They have to convince the justice of the peace that it is appropriate and lawful to sign the Form 2. And so they're making their case based on telling the justice of the peace what's been going on. They might have some evidence like emails, text messages, photographs, that sort of thing to paint the picture for the justice of the peace. And the justice of the peace must assess, is this situation one that actually meets certain criteria under the Mental Health Act such that it's appropriate to sign the Form 2? Because an individual might have a mental illness, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they actually meet the criteria that a Form 2 can be signed. But if it can be signed, the Form 2 is signed, brought to a police station, and police then for a period of 7 days have authority to pick the individual up and bring them to the hospital where they will be assessed by a physician. And then at that point, it can unfold in a variety of ways. The individual might be assessed and free to go home. They might be placed on a Form 1, and I'll link to a video here about what a Form 1 is all about. And so it could be the beginning of their kind of admission into the mental health system, and involuntary admission or readmission if they've been there before or not. It all depends. So the justice of the peace is really the first step of getting an individual to the hospital for a mental health examination. So that's it for this video. I hope you learned something new, and I'll see you in the next one.